Welcome back into the GSMC Sports Podcast, as we are now going to be diving into my New England Patriots, where really was hoping to just avoid talking about them altogether, but things are getting to a point where it has just been so loud and messy from New England these past few weeks. As just heading into the weekend, there was a whole situation where there was at least rumors. It was a Patriots beat writer that works for Patriots.com went on a podcast and was talking about the locker room is nearing a mutiny. Mutiny, exact words in that conversation, and just how disgruntled everybody appears to be. You know, as he put it in the situation, it was Alan Lazar. It was the offense going against the offense, the defense going against the defense, and just as a whole, you know, this idea as well that there is some real discontent from maybe, again, this is just speculation on his part, that there is some resentment from the players that the Patriots are deciding to sit Drake Maye as opposed to throwing him out there because of the fact that the Patriots offensive line is very bad, that they don't want to shake his confidence. But there's players that feel like he could do a better job than Jacoby Brissett, and that they're all laying their bodies on the line on a weekly basis. Why isn't Drake Maye? And I mean, it's because Drake Maye is just frankly far more important than every one of those wide receivers that's currently playing for New England. I'm a Patriots fan. There are a couple guys on that team that I do like. I feel like Jalen Polk has at least shown flashes. Demario Douglas, who had a pretty solid game for himself relative to Patriots standards right now. Once we get Kendrick Bourne fully back on track, I think that he could be a player for them at least. But all that being said, none of them are anywhere near as close in importance to the Patriots franchise than Drake Maye is. Drake Maye is basically the only thing that I myself, as a Patriots fan, really have to look forward to, other than the defense as well, where Christian Gonzalez continues to be a star for them on that side of the ball. But realistically, it is just Drake Maye. That's kind of the long-term hope that he pans out for them, that Jerod Mayo, who is definitely had his share of ups and downs up to this point in the season. We don't really know about him. But I guess, you know, again, Drake Maye really is the hope. Now, Jerod Mayo did make some pretty interesting comments after the game up to this point. You know, he's kind of been a mixed bag in terms of what he says to the media, where he pretends like he's been consistent, where he had a specific quote about, he said, quote, "I think I've been pretty consistent in my messaging that every single day we're all being evaluated, and that's no different now." He was asked that in relation to what that starting quarterback position looks like between Drake Maye and Jacoby Brissett. He can say that he's been consistent and that everybody's being evaluated, which is true. I think that he also hasn't exactly been consistent in terms of, you know, how secure that job is, and he's been a little bit back and forth in terms of the quotes that he's given as to where Maye is and how close he is to being able to start. But it sounds like Mayo is sort of nearing that decision that it might just be time to start Drake Maye. And given what we saw from the Patriots in this game against the Dolphins, I can understand why. Where they end up losing this game to the Miami Dolphins, who had been the worst offense in the league since Tua Tagovailoa went out with that concussion. And they lose this game, not even because the Dolphins offense just figured it out. The exact ESPN, too, when I looked at the website, the title for the recap that was written on ESPN.com is "The Dolphins made so many mistakes against New England, the Patriots made more in Miami's 15-10 win." Like, that just goes to sort of be an example of how bad things are with New England right now, where you have Jacoby Brissett, where I do feel bad for him because he's a little bit of a sacrificial lamb going out there and just getting, you know, smoked every few plays behind what is a bad offensive line. But I do also want to give some credit to Bill Simmons of The Ringer for, I was listening to some of his show earlier today, and he mentioned this idea that the passing attack with Jacoby Brissett in New England right now is so non-existent that it makes the offensive line look worse because it gives defenses the green light to be able to just send blitzes like crazy. That there's no real threat of, well, what, are they going to throw it over our heads if we send too many at them? Because the Patriots have not shown any capability of really being a downfield passing team up to this point. And again, I don't want to say that it's all on Brissett because the Patriots, they don't exactly have, like I mentioned, their offensive line is flat out not good, and their receiving core is largely mediocre, and it's just a situation where, again, Brissett, sacrificial lamb, there also comes a point where you just have to be able to show something, some sort of a vision of, well, this is what things could look like. And maybe it's just that Brissett isn't the right fit for the Patriots right now, given the fact that he's shown some levels of mobility, but really hasn't been, somebody, he's not somebody that's going to scramble himself. He has something like 50 rush yards on the year. Specifically in that Bengals game, I thought that he showed a couple runs downfield for a third down conversion, at least one of them. He's done a fine job of, maneuvering the pressure and everything, but it's clearly not a skill set. To be fair, I don't know if Drake Maye is going to be ready for that, even still. And I'm sort of at a point here where, selfishly as a Patriots fan, I'm like, all right, well, it can't get worse from here. That's a sentence that I've felt myself saying just about every season since Tom Brady left, and it continues to get worse and worse. That I do understand. If they feel like they need to apply some sort of a jump start here and put in Drake Maye, I'm at the point where I understand the risks that are involved. I would be understanding of it. But, that being said, it goes beyond just the quarterback position. And, like I mentioned, there were all of these, ideas, at least. I don't even want to call them reports because it's not like Lazar was specifically reporting on it, that it was with any confirmed sources. He was just saying he's been in that locker room and it feels like things are about to get messy. It just continues to get even messier, where now you look at the fact that one of the Patriots' best players right now and a key, signing for them in the offseason, they didn't do all too much. One of their things was to re-secure Jabrill Peppers, their safety, for another couple seasons, and it's announced that he is arrested for, we have the specific details on the report. This is according to WBZ Police, that Peppers is charged with, quote, assault and battery on an intimate partner, assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, strangulation, and possession of a Class B drug that police believe was cocaine. That was according to the Boston Globe, or WBZ, excuse me. So huge red flags there. Now, it sounds like Peppers' team is pretty confident that they're going to be able to get Peppers fully exonerated. That was sort of the statement that was put out from Peppers' attorney. I think it was this morning, that there is evidence that can contradict the victim's story. So who knows there, but it's just sort of another feather in the dunce cap hat that is currently, on this entire Patriots organization, where it has just been so dysfunctional these past few years. And I think that it gets masked a little bit based off of the fact that the Patriots were good for so long that, again, nobody's ever going to have sympathy for the Patriots fan or anything along those lines. And I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm just asking, can we at least all hold the Patriots accountable for how bad things have been these past few years? Because, this is nowhere near, and, you have Robert Kraft in the offseason, putting out the Dynasty, which is basically a half hit piece on Bill Belichick, half puff piece for him and his role in this entire situation. And why would that even be a thought, that, the Patriots are so much above any one person and Brady and Belichick, that it is, Robert Kraft and the infrastructure that's been carrying this thing? And that's not exactly what they said. It felt like a lot of what the messages were there. And I just could not feel more far off based off of how things have played out these past few seasons. And again, things just somehow continue to keep getting worse. They lose to a Dolphins team that is without multiple starters on each side of the ball, was basically, they were having Tyreek Hill meltdowns is a bit, dramatic, but he was up in arms big time just last week against the Dolphins, coming off of a short week there, and the Patriots can't muster up more than 10 points because that is just the state of what that offense is. So, extremely messy there. Expectations, because the reality of the situation is the Patriots were never supposed to be a good team this year, that they were supposed to be one of the bottom feeders. They sucked me in a little bit following that Bengals win and the Seahawks overtime loss, that they're not going to be a winning team by any means, but they can at least hang around in things. I mean, technically this was a close game, but that's not an accomplishment against this Miami Dolphins team as they currently stand with all of their injuries. So I think the Patriots it seems to be nearing that Drake Maye, pressing the panic button a little bit and throwing him in there. Again, I'll root for it if it happens because I'm curious to see what Drake Maye has. I'm a little bit jealous of the fans of a Denver or a Washington or a Chicago that are seeing their rookie quarterbacks take steps in the right direction, and instead I am unfortunately watching this Patriots team that instills really no positive feelings in me, except for Christian Gonzalez. Big Christian Gonzalez guy. But outside of that, Patriots are a mess right now, and that is the reality of the situation. Not a ton to tell you about the Dolphins here. I mean, Jalen Wright looked good for them. I guess that's something. Tyler Huntley maybe looked a little bit more comfortable, but very still clearly, limited in the passing game. That my thoughts haven't really changed there with the Dolphins of where they're at. I think they need to go invest into a better backup option behind Tua, whether Tua plays this year or not. I think they need somebody, at least for the time being, if they want to stay competitive in the playoff race. But you know what? A win's a win for them. So congrats, Miami. You have that going for you. But either way, just a terrible, terrible football game on both ends. But we're going to continue to be talking NFL, of course, through the rest of the week. But I do want to at least mention here the fact that LeBron James and Bronny James took the court together for the first time, first ever father-son duo on a court, so just on an NBA court specifically. I want to dive into that game, just sort of talk about what the developmental process looks like for Bronny James. Had some very interesting conversations earlier this afternoon in the GSMC production meetings, and just talking about what the steps are for Bronny, how he's going to sort of fit into this whole Lakers picture, and then do a little bit of my thoughts, just generally speaking, as the NBA season is nearing a start within the next couple of weeks, talking about the Los Angeles Lakers and where they stand in the overall power dynamic and hierarchy of the Western Conference and the NBA as a whole. So we're going to be diving into that. But before we do so, we are going to take a quick break. Do not go anywhere. We will be right back.